To our candidates, thank you all very much. It's not easy to put yourselves forward. It's not easy to stand up and literally put your name on a sign, put your name on a ballot. So thank you. I know we have people who've done it before, people who this is your very first time doing this type of thing. We all get to ask you questions and wonder and vote for you. You're the ones who are actually putting yourselves out there, and this doesn't work if we don't have people who are willing to put themselves forward. So let's maybe have a round of applause for all of our candidates. No matter how the campaign runs and how the vote works out, I think it's important that we have people who are willing to actually participate. So let's introduce our candidates, and we'll be diving into our session here. So on the far, I'll just maybe give a wave so everyone knows who we're talking to. We have Paul Chena on the far side there. We have Val Vandenbroek next to him. We have John Aldag, Rasha Sabti, Blair Whitmarsh, Jamie Watson, and closest to me, Saurabh Seth. So some ground rules. The candidates will have up to a minute to respond to each of the category questions. A yellow card, this is very high tech, a yellow card will be held up when you have 15 seconds so you can finish your thoughts. We don't want to cut you off. When your 1 minute's up, we do have a 0 red one there, so you'll see that. We do have a clock that'll count down as well. We do have our friend the bell. I'm trying not to use that just so that we can make sure we get as many questions in and get to everybody out of here at a decent time. I will ask questions from one category area at a time. Each candidate's going to receive the same number of questions, but not all candidates will be asked the same specific questions. It's a little hard for whoever's number 7 to answer after 6 other people have gone through. So now, while every question has a minute, our first question is going to have 2, which you can see on the clock there, which is just an introduction. I think I know most of you on the panel, but our audience might not. So why don't we take 2 minutes? I'd love for you to introduce who you are, why you put yourself forward, what's driving you to run and put yourself onto the stage and onto the campaign this time. So maybe we'll start. Saurabh, you're up here with me. The mics are all on the table. I think you just might need to hold down the gray button to turn them on, and we'll start with our introductions here.
Perfect. I hope you can hear me well. Perfect. So hi everyone, Saurabh Seth. I am, as I said, I'm 6 years into Canada only. Been in Langley since 2021. I stay with my wife, my 2 kids, 11 and 5. I've been working with some of the major audit accounting firms to look after financial crime compliances. I run my own consultancy now and a business coach. Why did I put myself up here? Now, it's a very interesting question, and a lot of people, my family has asked me as well. There have been times I've been cribbing about things, and my wife would say, either stop cribbing or do something about it. Right? So, and we've had friends with the dining room discussions on this needs to change, that needs to change, and the conversation will always end at what will you do about it? Right? So this was an opportunity for me to say, okay, let's see what we can do about it. Can we participate in the process? Can we make a change? Can we get a better understanding once we've gone through the entire process on, there could be rationale of things, why certain things are being certain way, or if we can provide our input. So I'm here, I believe in, integrity. I believe in ethics. And, I think I do have the skill sets to run and be part of the administration. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Sure. We'll do applause for the introduction, but we'll be here all night if we do that for every question. For this one, I'm going to be bouncing around during the evening, but for this one, why don't we just go down the lane here? So Jamie will put you next for your introduction and opening comments.
My name's Jamie Watson. Just to let you know off the bat, I am hard of hearing. I have a profound to severe hearing loss. So it always makes these kind of events really interesting. I will not hear anything any of these guys have to say, so which isn't always a bad thing. I've spent 27 years at Costco, not in a boardroom, but on the front lines, working shoulder to shoulder with people from every walk of life. That's where I've learned where real leadership means. It's not about titles. It's about showing up, listening, solving, and treating people with respect. During the pandemic, when everything felt uncertain, I was there as an essential worker, helping keep things moving for families, seniors, and small business. I saw fear, resilience, and community come together in real time. Leading in that environment meant staying calm, supporting my coworkers, and helping people feel safe. I learned that true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice. It's about being the steady one. I'll bring that same steady, hands-on leadership to Langley, rooted in service, teamwork, and the ability to lead through challenging times. And one of the greatest strengths I bring as a newcomer is a fresh perspective, unbound by political slates or old habits. I've lived in communities across the Lower Mainland, and I've seen what works and I've seen what hasn't when it comes to growth, infrastructure, and building connected neighborhoods. That experience gave me a broader lens to give to Langley. I'm not here to represent a slate. I'm here to represent people.
Thank you, Jamie. And next we'll have introductory remarks from Blair Whitmarsh.
Well, thank you. Thanks for everyone for being here tonight. This is a very important night, and for you to take time out of your night to be here is really important, so thanks. Langley is an awesome place. It's an awesome place to live, to play, and to work. And I've been fortunate to live here for 29 years. I raised my family here, my 3 daughters. We're involved in soccer. I coached soccer for many years in our community. And now I have 8 grandchildren that live in the area. And I'm part of their lives and seeing how they interact with their communities and are able to live in our community. And so those kind of things have provided me with a good background in understanding individual people, understanding families and the needs for families, and understanding concepts like affordability and housing and good development in our community. I also have worked for 29 years as the Dean of Human Kinetics at Trinity Western University, understanding sport and understanding young people who are moving out and getting ready to take on the next phase of their life. Serving on council from 2014 to 2022 was an incredible privilege of my life, and being able to serve this community and help the community to reach the goals that it needs to reach as it grows and this growing environment that we have. The challenges that we faced around housing, transportation, and now the challenge we face around debt load are important issues for us to face as we move forward. So I'm a person who listens, and this is you looking forward to having someone on council and another person on council who is willing to listen to what's happening in our community, listen to people from all sorts of backgrounds and walks of life, and tackle the challenges that we have in our community. And so on this week, started today, and up until the 25th, remember Blair Whitmarsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. And then Russia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. It's a little bit weird for me because I'm usually behind the scenes helping Chamber, as I volunteered with them quite a bit for the past year, but this is going to be very interesting tonight. I've been in Langley for over 15 years. I am a mother of 2 boys, twin boys. I am a mother of 2 huskies and a wife as well. I decided to, let me go back a little bit. I'm an engineer. I finished my degree early 1990, and then, there you go. I'm messing up already. So I'm a chemical engineer, graduated from UBC, and I decided to go and do masters. I decided to do my master's in mining engineering. At that time, I found out I was pregnant with twins, and that was a very interesting period of time. During that time, I finally got to finish my master's degree, and I managed to do a couple other things while doing that. My work as an engineer at the beginning, as I graduated, and I eventually transitioned into advocacy. I worked for Battered Women's Support Services for about 2 years, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of serious issues that we have as a community. And during life here, I managed to learn a lot about our community. I volunteered a lot on the schools. I've managed to watch everything happening within our school, our system. I got to question a lot of things. And what I come with today is really a very fresh set of eyes. A young parent that will be asking a lot of questions and looking for a sustainable green future. It is the question that I want to answer when my kids say, did you do everything to make our future better? Thank you.
Thank you, Russia. And then John Eldag.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out this evening. My name is John Aldag, and after being in public office for the last decade, I'm sure many of you know a bit about me. I'll give you the Coal Notes version and then talk a bit about the things I'm standing for in this election. My wife and I moved here in 2005 with our 3 kids who have gone through the elementary and secondary school system in Walnut Grove. I was elected twice to the House of Commons and have represented the community in Ottawa for those 2 terms, where I had the chance to meet with many residents time after time to hear and discuss the issues of our community. I had a very public round of virus-induced heart disease earlier this year, and it resulted in open heart surgery. My recovery has coincided perfectly with this by-election, and so I'm happy to say that I'm fit and ready to fight for our community once again. I have a number of items I put forward in my platform, and I'm going to talk briefly about 3 bricks and mortar projects that are very important to me. In 2021, I campaigned in the federal election for $21 million for a performing arts center that was the top priority for funding from the federal government, from them, mayor and council. That money has been on the books since 2023, thereabouts, and is still sort of an open invitation for the township to accept. I'm a strong supporter of the arts and culture community, and I think that a community without arts and culture is a community without a soul. And I would really like to see this Performing Arts Center brought home, paid for in part by at least $21 million in federal funding. And I think that that's the kind of arrangements we need to have with other levels of government to make sure that investments in our community are affordable for our taxpayers. I'd also like to see, living in Walnut Grove, a replacement for Fire Hall number 8. I've met with the firefighters there and have been told that it's not a great location. And thirdly, I've done spent a lot of time in Willoughby where we need a community center. And we need to look at things like amenity cost charges, working with other levels of government to make these kind of investments so that life remains affordable here in our community. We'll talk more on as we go on through the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm gonna trade you mics just because I think yours is fine, but I think. There you go, Val. I think Val, you're live there, and we'll move on just to make sure that we don't have any audio dropping. I just want to make sure we're all good here. So next candidate we'll hear an introduction from is Val Vandenbroek.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I'm Val Vandenbroek, former mayor and councillor of the city of Langley. You may ask why I'm running in the township. Well, I am moving to the township. We are in the process of buying a house in Aldergrove. And I am deeply involved in politics. I have been for many, many years, going back to high school when I was in student council and helping some teachers run for the NDP and other forms of government. So I've always been involved in it. I was the kid at 6 years old that ran home to watch the news at 6 because I loved what was going on in the world. I continue to do that. And those that know me know I fight for the little guys. I'm that person that people don't like to see come into the room because I'll tell you what's what. And that's me. Sometimes my ADD comes out and I say what I need to say. But you know what? I don't regret it. I fought for a lot of people, and people that know me know that about me. One of the things that I think is really important in the township is the RCMP, whom I've worked for 25 years. I have a lot of knowledge on those items, being around that long and seeing many different superintendents come and go and many deals come and go. I've also worked for the township, so I have thorough knowledge of the township for 25 years. And also the city of Langley. So going forward, we need to build the township up. We need a south of the Fraser region. We need to say no more to Metro Vancouver, and we need to move forward south of the Fraser. So vote for me, and yeah.
Thank you, Val. And then we'll wrap up this round with Paul.
Good evening, everybody, and the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for putting this on, and all the candidates. Myself, for running, I started volunteering when I was 15 years old, and that time my community was very small, and we had to build the places for the community to get together, and we were three brother. I had older brother, but my dad volunteered me. I was 15 years old. He said, he's the calm one. You can take him. So he's not going to rock any boat. So since then, I've been building temple, building community, volunteering for violence against women, RCMP, shelters for animals. You name it, I done it. And some of them, a politician in this room, I helped them to get elected. So, I mean, this is my background, always helping other people and getting accomplished things. And this time I was approached by some member, for the community member. They say, we need a change in Township of Langley. So somebody has to come forward. And since I've been volunteering for so many years, and they said, you should be a good candidate, we'll support you, but don't look back, And I accept the challenge, and I volunteer. And same time, I see, since I moved to this community, is almost 11 years. I lived in North for most of my life. I was 12 years old when I came to Canada. So lots of changes I see in community. But this community is still, I was on a roll. I thought I would get there a minute too.
It goes by fast. It goes by fast. Thank you, Paul. All right, so we're going to be diving in, and it goes by even faster now because we're down to 1 minute for these questions. But don't worry, we've got lots to get through. So our first category is going to be on looking at issues around development and housing, land use, how the township is growing. So the first question is going to go to we'll go to John, Russia, and then Val on this one, and it's about managing growth and livability. I don't need to tell you, Langley's population continues to grow rapidly. We remain one of BC's fastest growing communities. How will you as a councillor help us manage this growth while maintaining the livability, amenities, transportation that people need, as well as the unique community character in places like Brookswood or Fort Langley? So that first question is going to go to John, then Russia, and Val. So John, over to you.
Great, thanks. Well, I think we have to look at where we're at with existing community plans. A lot of work has been done in the community on consultations and coming up with visions for the community. As we implement those plans, we need to make sure that we have that we work for livable, walkable communities. We also move people efficiently across the municipality. Things like housing and affordability are really key to me, and we need to make sure that we continue to work with developers, governments like BC and the federal government on housing investments. There's money to diversify the types of housing that we're building so that our seniors, our young youth, our working families have a place to live. We need to continue working with organizations on transit improvements, and green spaces are very important to me. And so we need to make sure that we have green spaces for our families, recreation, as I mentioned. The community center in Willoughby, I think, is something that is sorely lacking within our rapidly growing community. So all of these things we need to consider on how we're investing so we have good community amenities and services. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, John. So, Russia, I'm coming to you. Just a reminder, the question is how will you as councillor help manage the growth Langley's facing, maintaining livability, amenities, and also the unique community character in places like Brookswood or in Fort Langley?
Thank you. Let's not miss this one. So I'm actually proposing using the integrated project delivery method, and that method is basically sitting in one room, all of us together, all the different stakeholders, different partners, different community partners, discussing what can work better for us, what worked before, what can work in the future. We also need to anticipate what is our growth going to be. I believe what we are facing now, some delays in the previous, in the matching of infrastructure versus growth that we faced. It's important to sit down together, evaluate what we're doing, and evaluate what has been done, and looking at what other municipalities and cities have done, and go and take it from there. Obviously, considering all different aspects of our community, seniors, children, the families, and making sure that we'll basically deliver what we're looking for in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Val, over to you. Did you want the question again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just Langley remains BC's fastest growing community. How are we managing that growth, livability, amenities, and also not losing the unique character of places like Brookswood or Fort Langley?
Right. Okay, well, each neighborhood is so very, very different. And I think what we need to look at is funding for each neighborhood separately and look at ways that we can incorporate multi-housing in each with walkable cities, grow those neighborhoods safely with safe growth and CEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. I think if each neighborhood had funding, they could keep those characteristics, like Brookswood has, the horses and the beautiful displays and such. And I think some areas are getting neglected. And I think we also need to look towards taking care of our citizens in a sense that, to me, we maybe want to go to a ward system where there's a representative in each area to represent them, and then you all come together at a table and talk together. These are things that we need to think about, like start thinking outside the box, because we're going to keep paying and paying and paying, and our debt's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Thank you. My next question, I'll be going to Paul and then Jamie, followed by Blair and Sarab. And I'm looking at form, density, and neighborhood design. So 200th Street is going to be densifying. Right behind us, bus rapid transit is going to be coming up to Carvolth here. So what kind of neighborhood form and housing mix do you want to see in these corridors? And what would be your approach to ensuring that we have a mix of housing, of commercial, of industrial land uses? So as Langley develops and densifies, especially in this area, what's the right mix in your opinion? So Paul, we're going to start with you, then over to Jamie.
Thank you. Since Township of Langley is a huge place, so I see we have lots of condos. I think we don't see a single housing. I see lots of big house, but not like a single housing. In Cloverdale, they have like smaller houses, so people can afford. And mostly I see lacking in Township of Langley is a transit system. So traveling we're building, but we're not building a transit fast enough to move people one place to other. So that will be my way to working with the provincial and federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jamie, I'm coming back to you. So the question is, what kind of neighborhood form and housing mix do you want to see as Langley develops and urbanizes? And what would be your approach to ensuring we have a good mix of housing and jobs and commercial?
I just want to say I'm against the leapfrog development where that's not on. There we go. Okay. I am against the leapfrog development where there's patches spread out. I absolutely love the mixed-use development that they have in Latimer and Willoughby, where you have more condensed living, where it's easy for accessibility and it's easy on infrastructure, and then that way you're protecting the farms without all this urban sprawl. That is absolutely what I love to see.
Great, thank you. Are we going, Blair? You'll be your question next, and then we'll end with Sarab. So, Blair, this question on form, density, neighborhood design.
Great, thank you. I think it's important that we maintain Langley's special character while we continue to grow. And growth is important, and it's happening. But at the same time, there's 150,000 people that live in Langley right now and want to see that character maintained and where they live. We have distinct communities, and within those distinct communities, we have different kinds of housing. We need to be even more diverse in the kinds of housing we provide, especially for people that have lived here and want to live here for a long period of time and want to see their families live here. So we have to have a housing that's affordable. We have to have housing that's diverse and creative in the way that we provide that. And we need to be able to age in place so that when people live here, they can move to other parts of the community and still remain in Langley without feeling the need to have to move, or their family has to move away from them because it's too expensive. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll wrap up with Sarab here.
Thanks, Ferry. I believe we need a balanced housing as far as the diversity, livability goes. The infrastructure needs to move in line with the growth. So we just can't have a mindless growth without the infrastructure catching up afterwards. We need to have our emergency services in place. We need to have the rest of the infrastructure in place as we grow. We just can't have a mindless growth. And it's an interesting point, and I was reading about affordability. We definitely need affordability or affordable housing, but the definition is not making the houses smaller, right? It's making the housing more affordable. Now there must be creative ways to go about it, but yes. So for me, neighborhoods that are walkable, wherein kids can bike to school, there are parks. All that balance is critical as well.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to pick up on what you mentioned there about affordability. My next question is on affordable and inclusive housing. Housing affordability remains one of the most pressing issues for Langley residents, especially our youth. Do you believe that the township should play a more active role in creating affordable and attainable housing? If so, what tools or policies would you support? Inclusionary zoning, or a certain percentage of units are set aside? The creation of an affordable housing strategy. What are your thoughts on what the township needs to do on affordable housing? This question will be coming to John, then Paul, and then Blair.
Affordable housing. This is what I think a big concern for all of us is how do we have the right mix of affordable housing for our families. I mentioned earlier that I'd like to see additional extended care for seniors so that they can age at home, but when they need to go into care, that there are affordable options in our community. We need to look at really interesting programs. Co-op housing is something, we have a couple of great examples here in the community, but we haven't invested in co-op housing in a number of years. There are programs the federal government was exploring but hasn't brought home yet that we need to continue pressuring them on. Programs such as rent to own, having purpose-built rentals and a mix of at market, below market, so we have communities that reflect the diversity of our community. Those are all things that we have to do to look at affordability in housing. I think that we need to work very closely with other levels of government. When I was Member of Parliament, we brought $96 million to Surrey for housing. Let's do the same for the Township of Langley.
Thank you. And then we'll go over to Paul.
Yes, it's definitely city issue too. Plus, city can work with the builders to see if we can, builder is interested to building in a low-income housing. And I remember my younger days, as a federal government, they used to give grant to the city and a provincial government and build low-income housing, and we got away from long time. So I think now to catch up, I think it's going to take a couple of more years, but all three levels of government has to work together. It's not going to be a one solution thing. So the city has to work, provincial government, federal government, and the developer has to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll come to Blair here for the question on affordable and inclusive housing.
Yes, affordable housing is important, as we've discussed here, and it is multifaceted between all levels of government. We have a definition that is commonly used, and that is that affordable housing is considered anything that's 20% below market value. The reality is there is many people in our community, a high percentage, that could not even afford that. We have to think of things that are more creative. How can we use our land more creatively? How can individuals who own land and are living on that land also have other kinds of dwellings on their own property? We see that all around the world, creative uses of land. And this will help to create a much more affordable housing concept for people, allowing people to have their families living close to them on their properties. I do support some inclusionary zoning for different areas and different groups within our township. So I think it's important that we really manage this in a strategic way, working together on housing.
Thank you very much. The next question will be going to Val and then Russia. And it's speaking of unique ways of building, the federal government recently has announced tens of billions of dollars to support prefab and modular homes as part of the housing mix. How do you see that kind of building fitting into Langley's housing mix as a tool to address affordability and supply of building and more affordable options?
I think it's absolutely fantastic. Like everybody else has said on this panel, we need a mixed variety. You know, you always hear people saying, oh, you're building a super nice, fancy penthouse condo building. Well, yeah, we need everything because people move and people upgrade and people downgrade. That's the reality. We need a little bit of everything. So, buzzing is kind of annoying. The prefab, I think, is an excellent idea. It's cost saving. You know, I don't want to see us become like Surrey with those carriage houses. I think those are things that we have to take a look at to make them a little bit better. And we need to, you know, think about the environment as well. But, you know, if somebody has 5 acres and wants to put a senior's trailer park on it, why wouldn't you do something like that? It's just things we need to work at. It's common sense.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we're moving to rush on this question around prefab modular housing as an option in Langley.
Thank you. I think this modular housing, it's similar to what has been applied to schools, for example. The modular classrooms have been applied and it is being really used very well. So I don't see why not we cannot apply it for housing as well. It's important to look at efficiency. It's important to look at abilities of other of different people able to afford a place to call home. Seniors to be able to live with dignity in their homes, having to be able to keep their pets, for example, and not being forced to move out of their house. So this type of a process, if we have the funding for it, I think one of the biggest things that we're facing here is trying to keep our budget to be reasonable, which means if we are able to cut our cost and being able to keep our budget within reasonable amounts and reduce our debt, then sure, let's do that if that works for us here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to be coming to Jamie here. We've got a mic, perfect. So, Jamie, your thoughts on prefab and modular housing as an option in Langley? Would that be something you'd support if it came to the council table?
I definitely support that as an option, but what I love to see is looking to other municipalities, not just the federal government and the things that they're doing. Coquitlam right now just approved of a complex on Burke Mountain that Habitat of Humanity built, and you have to qualify and have a certain amount of income to get that. Victoria right now is playing with an affordable home ownership program. That is the key, is thinking out of the box, looking around the country, looking to other municipalities and seeing what succeed. I moved to Langley because I couldn't afford a home. I had to leave Poco and this is where I could afford. And there's a sense of community and pride, and it only benefits the country, the community, if we own our own home. We just need to think out of the box.
Thank you. And then we'll wrap up this question with Sarab here on the end.
You know, I'll acknowledge I'm not an expert on housing. So, you know, is prefab the only option? If that is, or it's one of the options, I do support it. You know, that's what the experts have come up with. But then, as Jamie said, you know, we need to come up with out-of-the-box thinking, looking at other provinces, municipalities to see, you know, is there a best case, best use? Are there any other options available to us as well? We definitely need spaces that are, you know, a dignified living, good houses that provide us with what we need. Is prefab the option? Yes. You know, would I support it? Yes. We have a funding. It's been thought through at every level. But, you know, that should not stop us from exploring what else is available.
Thank you. And then I'm going to do one more question in this general category because it impacts so much of how Langley is built and grows. So this was development, housing, and land use. So my question is going to go first to Val, then John. So just so you can be pre-prepped there. 3/4 of Langley is ALR land. Farming is a huge part of our heritage. It's a unique element of Langley that we have urban and country side by side. What are your thoughts on our agriculture sector? How do we protect that part of the heritage, that part of land use in Langley, as there's pressures to grow and develop from the population growth we're seeing?
I think that's a great question. I think the whole our land area needs to be reviewed. And with that comes again my thought of a south of the Fraser region where we're with Chilliwack and Abbotsford instead of across the bridge. We need to take care of ourselves agriculture land is super important for sustainability in the future. I know we're coming up with new ways, to grow in greenhouses and such. But we really need to do a case-by-case almost basis and review everything. And this is one of the things that I wanted to do during COVID was break everything down. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I think we really need to review it.
Okay, thank you very much. John, and then we'll be coming to Russia, and then Blair on this question around the ALR, farming. How do we maintain that in Langley?
Well, I think we're very fortunate in that we have the ALR and protections for our farm community. It is such an important part of our community's identity. I think we need to make sure that our farmers, our agriculture community, our agriculture sector is positioned for success. And so it's about how do we help the producers in our area get product to market. We have things in the community like the farmers markets, and I'd love to see that initiative really expanded to help us not only benefit the local growers but also the residents, so we can have locally grown produce, not things flowing in from around the world. Yes, we have the agricultural sector, very important to our identity. It can also support tourism in our area, which is a great economic contributor. And speaking of economic contributions, it's like how do we actually bring jobs and keep them here in our community? On the previous question on prefab housing, I just wanted to say, let's build those here in Langley. And so it's about a strong agriculture sector, but also manufacturing here at home.
Thank you. And then we'll be moving to Russia on the same question here.
I think it's on. Yes. Thank you, Corey. I'm not the expert in this area. I must admit, I have been researching, reading, talking to different people who are experts here. I do believe from my end, I will basically be sitting with people. Hello, you're here. I'll basically be sitting with organizations that we actually have readily available and able to support us. Some people from LEPS, from the Farmers Institute. I really value every input that they would bring to this table. I don't think we have, or as a counselor, I don't have to have an answer for everything, but I am willing and more than happy to consult and work with different organizations and be able to go and make the best solutions. The other important part is really consultations, talking to the different communities. As Val mentioned, there is each one of these communities is very unique, and the reason why we moved here, it was really for the amazing uniqueness that we have in the farms and available space that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have a mute button, so that wasn't me. So, Blair, the question to you on Langley's ALR and our ag sector, and less ALR, more ag sector. How do we want to maintain that? Do we maintain that? How do we maintain that with the pressure from urban development?
Yeah, the ALR land is a critical piece for us here in Langley, and it's really rich for us. It creates food for our community, but it is also an economic driver in our community. And one of the interesting things about the ALR is that only about 30 to 40% in that range is actually being used currently for agriculture. Many people are buying these large properties and putting large houses on them and then just having them sit there. So I think what we need to do is find ways to encourage and incentivize people to actually farm the land that's in the ALR. We have about 70% of the land that is not being used for agriculture. How can we incentivize people, whether that's young farmers that are looking to have access to land that they simply cannot afford, because even farmland is extremely expensive in this area. So there are a number of strategies we can do to develop and enhance the agricultural land in our area.
Thank you very much. We're going to be wrapping up this category with a question for Saurabh, then Jamie, and Paul. I'm going to make sure you get in on this. We touched on it with an earlier question, but Langley is unique in the sense that our neighborhoods are distinct. Brookswood is different than Fort Langley. Alder Grove is different than Walnut Grove. What would your approach be as a counselor in protecting, maintaining the unique characters in these areas, or is that a priority at all? Should we maintain those? So, Saurabh, we'll start with you first.
Yeah. It's definitely a priority. Every neighborhood needs to retain its distinct identity. Now, I think somebody in the panel mentioned, and I've been thinking about it, probably the ward is the way to go about it. We need to change the structure. Every neighborhood needs to have a representative they need to have their budgets to maintain or their own distinct identity so that there's an equitable distribution of the budgets and the resources for each of those neighborhoods instead of focusing on probably where the growth is right now. So is it important to me? Yes, it's very important to me. Each neighborhood needs to retain its distinct identity. How is probably we need to start thinking about wards. They need to have their own budgets allocated to ensure they remain maintained well.
Thank you for that. And Jamie, we'll move to you on this question around the uniqueness of Langley's communities.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, for sure. So in Langley, our communities are distinct. So Brookswood is different than Fort Langley. Alder Grove is very different than Walnut Grove. Are those uniqueness, distinct nature of things you want to maintain, and how would you maintain that as a township councillor?
I think they are important, and every city in the Lower Mainland thinks it's unique and special and wants to be protected. And I think the key is going to that community, making sure they're heard. Alder Grove has this whole other set of problems with walkability and protecting the ALR. Walnut Grove is actually public safety right now. That's an issue over there. So I don't know how I personally as city council could protect that area. All I could do is listen to the problems of that area. That's very different from the question that you asked about the ALR. And that's important because everybody feels that they want to belong to the area. Everybody's passionate about Walnut Grove. I belong to Walnut Grove, or Fort Langley or Brookswood. Yes, there's definitely uniqueness, and it deserves to be protected.
Great. Thank you. And Paul, you'll wrap us up on this category.
Yes, it's a pretty wide question. Yes, I talked some of them older people living here for a long time. Township Langley was different and is second growing city in town right now. So I don't see how you can maintain. But yes, as a city councilor, it will be my job to listen to each community and have their input before making any changes. But we got a Transa coming. We're gonna have 200 the other services for Transa coming. So you're gonna have your changes are coming. So I don't know if I'll be sitting here lying, say I'm gonna maintain the same standard. I don't think so. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to be picking up on that and moving to our transportation and mobility category. Paul, I'm gonna maybe I took the good mic. I'm going to switch that one there because that one seems to be cutting out, and you don't need to hear from me as much as we need to hear from you. All right, so we're moving on to transportation and mobility. Now, obviously, again, don't need to tell you, transportation remains one of Langley's defining challenges. As growth continues, the township must balance improving its road network, supporting transit expansion, promoting active transportation options like walking and cycling. So my first question in this category is going to be going to, actually, it's going to be back over to Paul there. So if you got the mic, you're ready to go, Paul. Will be Paul, then Russia, then over to Jamie here. The township has been working on its transportation and mobility strategy. The chamber submitted over 20 recommendations to the project team on this. I'd like to ask you for your overall thoughts on what needs to be done to make it easier and safer to get around the township.
Sure. I said, it's 11 years since I moved here. I moved from Kitimat, and it was a better transit system in small town than what we have in Township Langley. And we're paying the taxes for Lower Mainland to have better transit, Surrey and Lower Mainland, Burnaby, and New West. Yes, it's nothing wrong with the city. It's not a city. It's the provincial government and the transit system. And we have to approach, and we have to fight. We have to put petition in. And I personally, my wife is on a wheelchair, and I find it, if I phone Langley Handy Dot, they don't transfer her to Epsford. So they said, they're going to switch it onto road to the Epsford Handy Dot. So it's the loss of system we have. It's been there for a long time. We have to fight to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Russell, we'll be coming to you next there. Then Blair, I think you got a mic. Maybe you can pass that down for Russia there. So the question is, this is your overall thoughts on what needs to be done to make it easier and safer to get around the township.
Can you hear me? Yep. So this is, again, in this topic, I'm not the biggest expert. I do know very well that it's really hard to access transportation on different areas between, for example, the connecting different cities. It's important to have also abilities for seniors to be able to get to their appointments, to all of that. I myself have been working with my family, with my in-laws, trying to get them to different appointments, and like Paul mentioned, it's really hard because the transfers are not accessible. What it's important is, though, as a counselor, I would definitely advocate and try to work with the province on this. I think it's a bigger subject than only focusing on one specific area here. We do have the SkyTrain coming in, but are we actually able to connect the SkyTrain to all the different communities? Are we just bringing that to add more people coming in without actually creating a system? Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamie, we're going to come down to you. Again, the question is on what are your overall thoughts on what needs to be done to make it easier and safer to move around the township?
I'm actually going to talk as a community member. I was a passionate cyclist in the Tri-Cities and walked everywhere. I don't do that here. I don't feel safe. I don't feel that cycling in Walnut Grove and some parts of Langley, especially as a hard of hearing person, my bike is tossed to the corner and collecting dust. Also, I have a lot of seniors that live around me. Spray painting sidewalks is not a good idea to make sidewalks accessible for seniors. It's actually at the point now where they throw rugs so seniors can walk to the grocery store. That's not an option. And so, no, I'm honestly not impressed with the walkability and safety of the streets in Langley.
Thank you very much. As this question, I get into a little bit into more specifics after this. So this question is quite broad. So actually, I want to get everyone's take on this. So I'm going to be going to Blair, then Saurabh, and then Val and John on this one. So again, so Blair, we'll be coming to you next on this. As I said, the township's working on the transportation and mobility strategy overall. What are your thoughts on how we can make it easier and safer to get around the township?
Yeah, certainly improvement of roads is obviously a critical piece for us here in the township. We have 6 different distinct communities that in a space of over 320 square kilometers. So there's a lot of distance of travel, so roadways are important, and certainly public transit. We need to have better public transit. We need to be able to lobby with TransLink and get what Langley deserves to have. And I don't think we get what we deserve on this far east end of Metro. And so I think that's important. But in addition to that, we do need to look at other forms of transportation that we could provide, like cycling paths. I don't think we have enough separated cycling paths that we need. And as we build new roads, separating cycling paths should be part of that. We also need to think about how our seniors get around this community. Many of our seniors live in isolated conditions and aren't able to travel around on their own. So a seniors bus, some kind of access for seniors would be something that would be important for our community.
Thank you, and we'll come to this question on to the end here with Saurabh.
I was researching on this particular topic again. Not as a transportation expert, but I figured out Langley has 3 of Metro Vancouver's top 10 most dangerous intersections. And we're significantly behind other Metro Vancouver communities when it comes to walking, cycling, or transit. So yeah, we definitely need more transit. We need connected cycling networks. We need to connect homes to schools with the cycling networks. We need to look at transit. We need to have probably a dedicated safety budget planned, a line item planned in the budget to look into this. This needs to be a high priority for the council and the township.
Thank you, and then we'll go to Val and then John on this one.
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, for sure. So on this one, this is your overall thoughts on what needs to be done to make it easier and safer to get around the township and move through our community.
Okay. I'm a huge transportation person. When I was mayor of the city, I was on the Mayor's Council, Regional Transportation Strategy. We did a lot of work with that. And I think it's true. We are not getting the fair share of what we should be getting. And again, which comes to my point of we need something south of the Fraser. We need, connected pathways. And if we build our communities where we have pathways off of major roads and interconnecting to the whole system that goes right through to Vancouver, I think it would be absolutely fantastic, but that's how we have to build our communities, with safe growth and subTED, crime prevention through environmental design. If you want to know more about that, please talk to me afterwards. But it is super important, and as a person who currently works for the BC Highway Patrol, we need people to slow down, and we need to create roadways and curbs and stuff, and that's where the subTED comes in, its peripheral views.
Great. Thank you very much. And John.
Yeah, I'd like us to see communities designed from the start so that we can have this interconnectivity. As I mentioned, I've been in Walnut Grove for over 20 years, and when we had young kids, there's a great pathway network along the creeks and ravines in Walnut Grove that are good for recreation, taking the kids out sort of from playground to playground. We could spend a whole afternoon in the community and never set foot on a road, and that was fantastic. I would not cycle, though. When I see a person on 88th Avenue in Walnut Grove, it's like, what a death wish. I would never do that. And it would be absolutely insane to try to retrofit that now cost-wise. So let's not repeat that. A couple of Sundays ago, I had members of Hub Cycle Langley reach out to me and took me on a 2-hour tour of Willoughby and showed me some of the great pathways and trails that are being built there already. But there are gaps, and so we need to make sure that we're addressing those gaps. There are some mistakes, I think, are being made by having the offset gates that are not good for accessibility or mobility. Wheelchairs and scooters can't get through them. And there's places where there are new developments where there are no curb cuts. And so we need to make sure that we're doing wise planning for this kind of mobility in our community.
Great. Thank you very much. I did have another question here on, and still on our transportation veins. I've got a couple on roads and a couple on transit, so maybe we'll switch it up here. So the first question we're going to bring it to Russia, then Jamie, then Blair on this one. And a few of you mentioned transit. So SkyTrain construction is underway. It's going to be coming to Langley Township, as well as planned bus rapid transit up 200th. Some are excited by that. Some are apprehensive by that. What are your thoughts on how we can make this transit expansion a success in the township? What do we need? What pieces are missing to make transit, when it finally launches here, a success for our community?
I think a lot of my friends here did mention that we need to look at other municipalities. What are we doing? We're a little bit late to catch up on this whole transportation situation, but it's important to actually talk to previous municipalities that are successful. Try to use and learn from their experience, their mistakes perhaps, and move it forward. We know that there is a growth that's going to come. We need to put the projection and to look at how to connect the different communities. The death wish John's talking about, I myself have had it quite a few times while walking my dogs on 88. So that safety and connectivity is quite important. The ability to do the cycling, which was also mentioned at this point here. But moving forward, I think we really want to, I will again propose using the integrated project delivery method, where we actually all sit down together with the different communities and work together.
Thank you. So this question is going to go to Jamie and then to Blair on with SkyTrain and bus rapid transit coming. How do we make sure it's a success in Langley?
I actually lived in Coquitlam, not far from the Coquitlam SkyTrain station. It was amazing to be able to, I got to the airport without setting foot in a car, and flew to New York City without ever setting foot in a car. At this point, are we going to go to transit and beg them to help us, or are we going to build communities around the SkyTrains? And when I look at where the SkyTrain stations are going to be built, there's really not a lot of density housing around them. So what do? Do we plan for density housing around the SkyTrain, or do we beg for more transit from BC Transit?
Thank you very much. And we'll be coming over to Blair on this question around the transit expansion and making it a success.
Yeah, it's clear that SkyTrain is coming, and there's lots of benefits with that. There's also going to be some challenges that we face as a community. There's no doubt that around the SkyTrain stations, we're going to see more high density being built and formed around those SkyTrain stations. But the reality is, in the Township of Langley, 90% of the population are not going to be within a walkable distance of the SkyTrain stations. So we have to come up with public transit networks within the Township of Langley that can get people to the SkyTrain. Otherwise, people are going to have to drive their cars to get to the SkyTrain and park. And we're going to have a massive parking lot, which goes against the whole idea of a SkyTrain. So without those networks built in our community, the SkyTrain is going to be difficult for at least 90% of the population that live in the 6 distinct communities and in the agricultural area of our community.
Thank you very much. So the next question will be coming to John and then Paul on this one. And the flip side of transit and SkyTrain is road infrastructure and congestion. Traffic congestion on key corridors remains one of the biggest frustrations for residents and for our members in business. Langley has at-grade rail crossings, there's bottlenecks, there's highways bisecting it. What priorities or solutions would you bring forward to improve in traffic flow? Would you continue the expansion of the road network that we've seen over the last few years?
Well, I think that, as was mentioned, we are, even with the coming of SkyTrain and bus rapid transit, we're going to still have a population that are stranded from those, and we are going to still rely on our road network to move people around and goods around our region. For me, I campaigned on the expansion of the Trans-Canada right out to Hope, and that work is happening, but that alone is not enough. We need to look at other corridors. Fraser Highway is another pinch point that needs to have work, and there's some happening there, but we need to continue pushing on Fraser Highway. 16th Avenue is another one. Not only are there deficiencies, but it's dangerous at some of the intersections, so let's look at intersection improvements. Those would be a couple of the main road improvements. And then there's other intersections. One I hear about in Walnut Grove often is the 96-216th. Tonight I sat for a very long time by Carvolth at the three-way stop there. Those things don't help us move, and we need to continue focusing on those.
Thank you, John. Paul, this question on our road infrastructure is coming to you next. Did you want me to repeat the question, or are you good to go?
Good to go.
Okay.
It's not just the city, it's a 3 level of a government. So since I said before, I've been helping get elected lots of MP and MLAs, and not just one party, I support every party. So if I get elected as a council, I'll be squeezing them very hard. So make sure all that money come to Township Langley. And I guarantee you, because any organization I run, I stretch my dollars. So I'm not gonna sit here and say it's all gonna be city issue to build the roads. It's gonna be 3 level of a government doing the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come to Sarab at the end here, and then we'll finish this category off with Val. So your thoughts on our road infrastructure?
If you can repeat the question.
Yeah, for sure. As traffic congestion on key corridors is a big frustration for businesses and residents. What priorities or solutions would you bring forward to improve traffic flow? Would you continue to expand the road network like we've seen the last few years?
Yes. The expansion of road network in last few years has been great. I think it needs to continue. We need to expand on it. There is a transportation mobility strategy. Probably we need to work on the implementation faster for that one. That's critical. With transit coming in from those transit points through the other points in the city, we need transit routes. So that road infrastructure is critical, needs to be built. We need to continue investing in that.
Thank you. And then over to you, Val, to wrap up our category here.
Great. Oh, same question, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I thought you said you were going to ask a new question. We need to expand what we have. And when we have a regional's transportation strategy and we have rapid bus lanes in, it goes with the flow of traffic. And if we can look into the future where you look in other cities where everything is timed and everything is done sequentially. So the bus is coming down, the light is going to change green. I can't remember what the exact formal name for it is. But those are things that we need to do on a lot of our major roads. The other thing is we need to look at how we build our roads to begin with. A lot of times we're waiting for people to turn, we're waiting for this, we're waiting for that. We have to be better planners. And I think that's key, is just looking at what we need.
Thank you. So that wraps up that category. We'll be moving on to business budgets and finance. The first question will be going to Jamie, then Blair, then Saurabh, in that order. The township faces increasing pressure to build and maintain infrastructure while costs continue to rise and expectations continue to rise. Candidates are often asked to balance fiscal responsibility with the need for amenities that support growth. So my first question is on debt and long-term financial planning. The Township of Langley has taken on more debt in recent years to build and secure new amenities and infrastructure. What are your thoughts on the township's current debt levels, and how would you approach paying for the facilities and services residents want without overburdening taxpayers?
Well, that's definitely my weak spot, is the debt. I've done a fair bit of reading on our debt, and I'm sorry, it's very confusing. It's very, a lot of numbers thrown out there. But I'm going to look at the idea. Everyone is, destination projects versus infrastructure. There's just so much conversation on debt. I feel that it's about balance, and it means putting infrastructure and residents first. I think that, honestly, this is where I have a weakness in this, because I just don't have any experience when it comes to municipality debts.
Thank you very much. So this question will be going to then Blair, then over to you, Saurabh.
Yeah, fiscal responsibility is one of the most critical things that we are dealing with in this particular time of Langley's history. In 2022, we had $177 million of debt. Today, we carry $653 million of debt, and that comes from the township's own capital plan. This is not my numbers. This comes from the township. That doesn't include two major projects that are being considered by council right now, which could be in the neighborhood of $150 to $200 million to do those two projects. It also doesn't include internal borrowing that's happened over the last 3 years. So while we want new projects and while we need to move ahead, we have to think about the future. And this debt is going to be very difficult for us to manage over the long term. If these numbers come through, which what they're considering, we could be close to $1 billion of debt in the next couple of years. That's something that is important for us to think about.
Thank you. And Saurabh.
I believe the debt is not always that bad. Do we have a significant debt? Yes, we do have a significant debt. If you're not going to spend on essential infrastructure today, the cost to build that essential infrastructure 3 years down the line is going to be way more significant. But having said that, that balance is very important. When I was looking at the budget, there are some critical projects that probably should have been prioritized, which are unfunded right now, should have been prioritized over others. But there's a lot that goes into budgeting. I understand that. We might not have that entire visibility on why. And that's been my challenge on the numbers. We've been hearing 600 million, 400 million. What is that number? And, if you prioritized one project over another, that shows as a critical infrastructure project, there must be a rationale on why it is being done. And we seriously can't keep taking on the debt and hope to service it. There must be some plan around it. And if the council has a plan, great.
Thank you very much. So the next question is going to be going to Val, then John, and then we'll do Paul and Russia in that order. So that's on tax fairness and business impacts. If you're elected, you'll have me at your door when it comes to property tax time. Businesses currently pay a property tax several times higher than residents, despite that being a made-up ratio. There's no reason for businesses to pay 3 times as much as residents. But beyond my pet project, what is your general approach to how the township's taxation should be set? How do you find the levels of taxation now? What would be your approach to budgeting?
That's a huge question, because there's so many things on the budget. Wow. The budgets are important. I don't even know where to begin with that one.
How about your thoughts on how we make sure the tax rate is competitive for residents but not punishing the businesses?
Well, I think the 3-to-1 ratio, I remember my accountant, Darren Light, telling me why it was like that, because of using more than households do and such. So that's why they pay 2-to-1 ratio or 3-to-1 ratio. And I get that. And that's one of the things that, if that is a concern and that is a problem for the businesses, then why aren't we sitting down and talking about that, right? everybody has to pay their taxes, and Corey, I'm sure you will be there pounding on the door continuously. I know you will be because you were when I was in. So.
Thank you very much, Val. We'll be moving to John, then Paul on this question. So, John, in general, what do you believe the current approach where businesses are paying so much more than residents is fair? But more broadly, what's your approach to taxation in the township?
Well, Corey, I did, as part of my consultations before deciding to run in this by-election, I reached out to a number of stakeholder groups, including the Chamber of Commerce, and you and I had a bit of a discussion on the concerns. I think that we need to make sure that our systems are fair for tax. We need to have a vibrant and healthy business community and industrial community within our municipality, and so we want to make sure that those policies are working for investments and for creating good jobs close to home. That's so important. As a taxpayer, I'm also really aware of the the tax rates, and nobody likes taxes at any level, provincial, federal, or municipal. But I would say that on the spending, the last question on debt, I reached out to the mayor, and he managed to give me a good chunk of time to walk me through the existing debt load and where the funding sources are to service that. I was actually really impressed with the thought that's gone behind where the money is coming from for the investments. And I maybe have a chance to talk, but I think that we're in a reasonable position for the community right now for the growth challenges that we have.
Thank you very much. Paul, I'm going to come to you on this question around taxation in the township. Your thoughts on taxation in general and the levels that you see business and residents paying.
Before I retire, I used to own a business too, so I understand it pretty good, and I was a director of the Chamber of Commerce and a treasurer at the Chamber, so I seen both sides of the picture, and only thing I'd never seen as a council side. So I'm hoping if I get that position, then maybe I can talk about it more and how to see business can save money. But I'm pretty sure they have lots of accountants, and as a counselor, I will make sure when the budget is going through and passing, and I will look at those numbers very closely. And that's all I can say right now. Thank you.
Russia, do you want to bring us home this question?
Thanks, Corey. And yes, I know you'll be totally knocking our doors. For this, I really want to say something very important. I do believe that small businesses should and have to be supported by our community. I think this is very, very important for me. I've heard the 3-to-1 ratio from different businesses that are here. If we want to provide ability for people to work, live, and enjoy this community, we also have to be very considerate on how to treat and welcome small businesses. On the flip side of taxes, I believe an important point that we can apply is the community amenity contributions. Looking at that, it's very important. I know there's a lot going on about that right now. I believe there are a lot of different communities that have applied this very efficiently. We go back to them, review what they've done, look at the data, and use that in our benefit with proper projections for our future, with proper projections to protect small businesses and homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to be moving on to our second to last category here, which is governing and leadership. Local government success often depends on working within the council and with other levels of government. So these questions are going to touch on how the candidates will act in this regard. So our question on here is going to start, actually, Russia, I had you starting first here, and then we'll go Paul and John on this question. So I guess the first question is on leadership and decision making. How would you approach working collaboratively at the council table, particularly when disagreements arise? What kind of leadership or decision making style would you bring to this role, and why do you think that would be beneficial to have around the council table?
Thanks, Corey. I think this is hopefully one of my strengths here. I do come with a very strong relationship, a very good relationship with multiple and all different community partners here, from current council to the city of Langley to the school board to other local community partners and nonprofit organizations in Langley. I am planning and wanting and will be working on collaboration. I think it's very important to work together it is extremely important to sit down and listen to each other, look at each other and consider each other as human beings. I do believe that each and every one serving today, and as I'm running through this new experience that I'm going through, every single person serving today is trying, and I'm hoping they are doing their best to serve our community and serve all of us. I'll be more than happy to hear from everyone, work with the community, consult the community, and come back to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Russia. We'll be moving to Paul on this one if you want to pass the mic there, and then we'll go to John. So, Paul, the question is on what kind of leadership and decision-making style would you bring to this role, and why do you think your voice is needed around the table?
Well, if I said I'm older and experienced, I have been member for so many organization, and every organization I was involved, I ran as a team. So when you run as a team, you make a decision by team, and you don't have that many conflicts. And I can tell you, we just hire a person for my wife, and the whole family was involved. So that's how I run my house too. So it's not always my decision, it's the whole family decision. And when you're a member for the community, you're representing a community, so you take everybody's advice and decision and then go forward. So I would say 99% I will work with everybody, and so far I have good response. Nobody objected me right since. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then we'll finish this question with John. Just a reminder, what kind of leadership and decision-making style would you bring to this role, and why do you think your voice is what's needed around the table?
Well, I'm by nature a very collaborative person, and don't go to conflict as my first way of dealing with issues. I'll use my history as a way of speaking to how I deal with things. I've been told from previous councils that when I was member of Parliament, I was probably the only member of Parliament who had reached out and had regular meetings with both the Township of Langley and the City of Langley to understand what their priorities were. And believe me, I was in a very partisan federal environment, so we didn't all share the same perspectives at the table, and yet I was there to work for the communities I represented, no matter who the people were that I was meeting with. And to me, that's very important. I also worked in a highly partisan environment in Ottawa, and yet I was able to work across party lines to get things done for the benefit of our community. And I can talk about all of the investments I was able to get, and it often involved working with other members of other parties who also represented the Langleys to bring federal investments and support for things here. And so that's how I tend to approach things.
Thank you for that. The next question will be for our remaining panelists. We'll be going, Val, you'll be taking this first, and then Sarab, Blair, and Jamie. So I think most of you have mentioned that in your talk that you'll work with other levels of government to collaborate or engage. So can you explain how you would engage with the province, with the federal government, and with the City of Langley to advocate for the township's priorities? What level of engagement would you bring, and what skills or experience would you bring to those intergovernmental relationships?
Well, first off, I pretty much know everybody in the Lower Mainland from being mayor. I was on UBCM and FCM, so I know councillors, and I represented people, our community across Canada and BC. I was elected by boards of my peers to be on that. I think you can see my relationship with Surrey Council, bringing SkyTrain to Langley's, and we're nice enough to give Langley Township a stop by the mall. So I'm very resourceful at getting things and working with people. Unfortunately, the only people I didn't work with well was my council. I was the only one that wasn't running with them. They all ran with Peter Fassbender, and I didn't. So I suffered the consequences for 4 years of that. And people that know me that I'm not the harasser. So I want to get that out there because I'm sick and tired of hearing it.
Thank you, Val. So Rob, we're going to come down on this end of the table here. So again, the question is, as in municipal government, you have to work with the province, the federal government, our neighboring municipalities, and the city. How would you handle that intergovernmental relationship?
Perfect. So, when you said what skills do you bring in, I just remind I'm a business coach and executive leadership coach. So I do coach people on trust, collaboration. That's a skill I do bring in. But when it comes to Langley City and other relationships, collaboration is very important. But we need to keep our interest safe as well. You need to look at your safety. You need to look at transparency and accountability. You need to be fair to your own taxpayers as well. When working with probably the city. But collaboration is important. You just can't work in silos. And I don't know anyone, so no histories. I think I'll be building new relationships there, and I think that would be to an advantage.
Great. Thank you very much. And then I've got Blair, and then Jamie will wrap up this question. So Blair, you're again to remind the council, municipal governments have to work with neighboring municipalities, the province, the feds. What's your approach to intergovernmental relationships?
Yeah, I think intergovernmental relationships are best done through personal relationship. I have great personal relationships with our federal MPs that represent the Langleys. I have good relationships with the members of the legislature here in British Columbia that represent the Township of Langley. I've spoken recently with our federal counterparts about the potential funding for the Fine Arts Theatre just recently. Have a great relationship with those who serve on our school board. And I also have a great relationship with the members of the Langley City Council, which is our neighbor, in which we can begin to work together and find ways to be creative together. Without working together both with council members, the 9 that are on council, and the various levels of government and community groups around us, we are not going to get the best for Langley. It is only through collaboration and working together that we will see the best.
Thank you. And then, Jamie, you'll wrap up this question here.
This is actually my favorite question. The unfortunate thing is you guys don't know my history in Port Coquitlam and all that I have done. I advocated for the women who died on the Picton property, and I advocated for the Blakeburn Lagoon. I spent many years banging on everyone's doors, the province, the federal, the municipalities, the families, community members. I had open houses, and it was an amazing thing to be a part of. It was tough, it was stressful, but I was determined to make it happen. If you Google Blakeburn Lagoon and the bench and the Reconciliation Garden, it is there. And it was an incredible project to be a part of, and worked as a team to make that happen. And that is definitely my strength. Once I get something in my mind, I go after it, and I'm willing to work with anyone and everyone to get it done.
Thank you very much. So we're galloping towards our time here. So I've got a few more questions to get through. So we're going to move on to our final category, and there'll be a few more questions after that. And it's going to be parks, recreation, and the environment. Langley's rapid growth has increased demand for green spaces, recreation facilities, and environmental protection and climate action. These questions will touch on all of those things. So these questions, this first round of questions are going to go to John, and then Russia, Jamie, and Blair. John, you'll be able to take this first. So the first question is on parks and trails. While some parts of Langley have access to legitimate parks and trails, others have access mainly to what people describe as sports fields and sidewalks that maybe pretend to be parks and trails. How should the township approach expanding and improving its green space, its trail network? And is there an example of something that you think could work here that you'd like to emulate?
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I had spent 34 years with Parks Canada, most of it in the National Park System prior to coming to Langley. And so the environment and the protection of green spaces and biodiversity is very important to me. I think that we have some great examples of protected green spaces, but we need more. And it's about how do we work with appropriate developers in the development context and others in order to to provide those green amenities for our residents as they move into our neighborhoods. Something that I'm very passionate about is that a couple of years ago, the federal government announced an urban national park program. And this is something that I had worked on, trying to get partners and parties together to discuss the idea of an urban national park for Langley and Surrey. I think that this is something that we could work really hard on. There's federal government funding. They're looking for partners. There's going to be one in each province and territory. And Vancouver has Stanley Park. I think that we need something in our rapidly growing area. I would like to continue to work on a project like that.
Thank you very much. Russia, you'll be taking this question next, and then we'll go to Jamie after that. So the question is, how should the township approach expanding and improving its parks, trail, and green space network? And is there an example of something that you think we should have here?
I think one of the best things that I'll be working with John, since he has the great connections through the federal and the provincial. There is the help, and it's important to actually really use this resource that we have. I also have to admit that we have, I've really noticed that we have misconnections of trails on parks, like Corey mentioned. It's important to have the continuation of these trails. The trails that we have are not necessarily safe. So, because they always cross, they're just not continued properly. I do believe that we could also look into, again, the community amenity contributions, making sure that whoever comes work in our community gives back to make sure that the tree developments, making sure that our forests are protected, our ecosystems protected. There's one more thing, the resilience analysis grid, which I actually had worked on previously, and that's basically applying, monitoring, anticipating, and learning from future through other municipalities.
Thank you very much. So this question will go to Jamie, then we'll wrap it up with Blair. So Jamie, your question is around how the township should approach expanding and improving its parks and trails and green space, or if that's a priority for you or not.
It's absolutely 100% a priority. I think first we need to protect what we have. Studying and reading and researching parks in Langley, coming across all the things that are at risk and community members having to fight for what exists, that doesn't make any sense to me because these things are already in place. Also, the idea of just planning with the developers. So there's that amenities fee that they're talking about that the province has implemented. That is an incredible way to make sure that we fund and provide the parks around new development. That is the key to healthy communities, is our green space and our parks and protecting what we have.
Thank you. And then Blair will be taking this question on our Parks, Trail, and Green Space Network.
Yeah, the more densified that our community becomes, the more that people move into our community, the more that we have to protect our green spaces. We have a good trail system in Langley. I would say that we don't have a great trail system. And we can go from good to great by considering how we connect from one trail to another, how we can access trails throughout our community so that you can get from one community, one of those distinct communities, to another through a trail system, a multi-use trail system, including the ability for people who ride horses. We have one of the largest horse communities in North America, and yet we have not been able to provide the kinds of trail system that they need for their activities. So I think there's a lot we can do to protect green spaces. The more densification, the more green space that needs to be protected.
Thank you very much. So this next question in this category is going to Val, then Saurabh and Paul, in that order. We had a number of questions come through around climate change, environmental responsibility, so I want to make sure we ask about this issue and the impacts on our community. Climate change and extreme weather events are increasingly impacting Langley. What kind of role should the township play in supporting environmental resilience and sustainability? How do you balance what the township can do versus its pretty limited jurisdiction in this area?
Yeah, as mayor during a heat wave, a flood, a fire, COVID, and something else, I was highly impacted by the environment the whole entire time. And what that really taught me is we have to really work together with the other municipalities to make sure that we are setting up for the future. Like you look at the flooding that happened with the U.S. and Abbotsford. I was out there begging with Henry Braun at 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought the guy was going to have a heart attack. But when things like this and you see it firsthand happening and destroying your community, and your citizens are in tears, you have to do something about it, and we have to. We have to keep moving and protect our areas. We have to add in, when we're building to the streams, we have to have more footage put in. I could go on and on and on and on. I'm a huge environmentalist. I was at Clayoquot Sound originally, so I'm a hippie chick.
Thank you very much. So we're going to come down here to Saurabh, and then we'll go back up to Paul at that end of the table. So your thoughts on what the role the township should play in supporting environmental resilience and sustainability, and how do you balance what the township can do given its limited jurisdiction?
Okay. So what role should township play? Township is, has to be the champion of to ensuring that the green spaces are secured. The climate change is real. It's happening. You know, I've got questionnaire from CLAP on various issues. I'll admit I'm not an expert, but you know, when I admit I'm not an expert, it is very important to bring in those experts and stakeholders to talk about what is required to ensure we are prepared for these events. I understand, you know, we're working on a bylaw wherein we said buildings need to be 40% energy efficient. Now we are rolling it back to 20%. Again, there are reasons, you know, probably we are trying to balance between affordable housing and between the environment. So the priority needs to be environment. We just can't build mindlessly on green spaces. We need to bring in the experts. That's going to help us with the solution.
Thank you very much. And Paul, you'll wrap up this question, and you're in there.
Well, my background, my parents was a farmer, so as a farmer, environment is very important, you know, and I'm not sure what, I only see the city, we have recycling, we got lots of green space as a Township of Langley is such a big place. And I do my part. Anytime I can avoid not driving my vehicle, I do that. Every time I go shopping, if I don't have to take a bag, I do that. So I do my part, a little bit of whatever I can do. But if I do get elected in the council, I will have more to see how city can do to save more environment.
Thank you very much. I've got a general question here that I'm going to give you each a minute to answer, and then we'll go into some closing remarks. I want to make sure we get everybody out here on time, and maybe some time for people to connect with you afterwards. So you might not have the answer to this yet, but I think given this is a by-election, I think voters have a right to know kind of what the plans are after this. It's only a one-year term, if that, before the next election. So I want to know the successful candidate is only going to serve until next October, and then there'll be another election. So what are your plans for the next election, and how do you view this one-year term in sense of what you can realistically accomplish? So we're going to start, John. We'll start with you, then we'll go Paul and Russia. So do you have you made a decision? What are your plans for what happens after you fill this vacancy, and what do you think you can really realistically accomplish in 1 year?
Well, I personally would love to continue to serve my community as I have for over the last decade in many ways, and more than that prior to going into politics. You know, my intention now is to put everything that I have into the next few days as we go through advanced voting and onto the main voting day, to have the conversations, the meaningful conversations about the challenges our community faces and how I can help advance those. I've met with most of I think all of the councillors at some point over the last few months to understand the municipal context. It is something that I would be new to, but I have lots of relationships within the metro area as well as provincially and federally. I think that I have the ability to work in difficult settings to try to get things done for our community. The Township of Langley has been very kind to my family and myself, and I'm not done giving back. And so I'm ready to fight for the things that we need done here, and that's the commitment I make if I'm given the opportunity to serve.
Thank you very much. So Paul, we're going to you next on this. So specifically, what are your plans for what happens after this 1 year vacancy that you're filling?
Well, when I decided to run this time, since I've been door knocking, phoning, and people are asking me this question, are you willing to put your name forward for next election? So they wanted to see, I think, every candidate to be committed, not just for this term and the long term. And I said yes. So I'm gonna continue for next term, and I think I will save my sign and everything else. So, and make sure I don't have to rebuy them again. Thank you.
So next on my list we have Russia and then Jamie on this question on what your plans are for the next election and what you think you can accomplish in 1 year.
Well, I'll be honest. After the weekend I just had, I don't know if I was going to say yes or no for next year. I'll tell you one thing. As a new person jumping into this, it is a whole new world. Now, if I do get elected, my biggest thing will be is actually joining as an independent. And I know a lot of people have asked, are you going to be independent in the future or not? I will be independent for the future. And me joining today, if I get elected, that will basically say more people like you and me, more people that are very normal, very normal. We've, you know, and what I mean by very normal is basically reading a comment be like, my heart is breaking. So that is very normal. Working within the community, knowing exactly what the community is, bringing fresh sets of eyes, it's very important to be able to serve here. And I will be running again if I make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So coming to Jamie here, we had many questions come in asking us to ask you, this is a one-year vacancy, what are your plans or commitment going forward after that?
Is it if I get elected, not elected, it doesn't matter?
Either or, yeah.
Okay, so whether or not I get elected, I am going to find a way to contribute to the community. I heard of some projects that are coming up that I would really love to be a part of. I'm here for the long haul. This is my third election, and I absolutely love trying to find a way to be involved with the community. And I also am very passionate about bringing someone who has a disability to the table. That is the amount of people that have reached out to me about disabled people not having a voice at the table. That is something that's very passionate. And it's actually climate change that brought me to politics at all. And I have an anxiety about the future for my children, and I feel this is a way to find a path to that. Thank you.
Thank you. So Blair, then we'll go to Sarab and Val to finish off this question on your plans for the next election and what you can realistically accomplish with a one-year vacancy term.
Yeah, the role of counselor is a multifaceted, challenging role, and it can often take years to get up to speed in that role. My 8 years on council has prepared me to be able to jump in right away and be able to navigate what's happening on the council table. I'm prepared and willing to work with the other 8 members of council to do the best that we can for the Township of Langley. And I think that there's lots that can be done, and it is certainly my intention in 2026 to run for council again and continue to provide a leadership role and a servant role for this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarab.
Okay, so my intention is to run for the next year as well. Again, this has been a great experience, you know, as some mentioned, you know, running for the first time, you learn a lot of things. I've learned a lot about the community. You know, I realized the things that I've not been aware of. I've had an opportunity to meet with wonderful people in the community. I could see myself, if not elected, definitely working as a volunteer with a lot of communities. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people, and you know, I'll definitely be more involved than ever. If I get elected, you know, this one-year term is wherein, you know, my 3 priorities have been collaboration, transparency, and a balanced growth. So building that collaboration and transparency is the key. And I think that can be achieved within the 1-year term. And I'll be a fresh voice to the council with new perspectives.
Thank you. And Val, you can finish us up in this question.
Yeah, thank you. I believe that I was taught at a very young age to give back. My father passed away when I was almost 2. My mom was left as a widow with 3 kids and had to have open heart surgery. We grew up in Chilliwack in Greendale on a farm, surrounded by Mennonites. We were Catholic. But the people in my youth really taught me what service is. And I'm so grateful for that. And I've always had a passion for helping the little guy. And those that know me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I just want to take a moment to thank all these newbies, because this is not easy being up here. You guys have done absolutely fantastic tonight, like honestly. And I just want to take my time to say that because I know it's not easy. I've talked to you all, so.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna give each of you. I'd like to give each of you 1 minute to use however you like for closing remarks. Summarize any key points. If there's a question you didn't get a chance to answer, you wanted to, or last things you want to leave those who are in the room, those who are watching the video. Your wrap up comments here as we head into voting days over the next few days. So we're gonna run the table here. So Paul, we'll start with you, and we'll just work our way down the table here. So Paul, your 1 minute closing remarks.
All right. With the last question, and myself, I'm not running for paycheck. If you elect me on the 25th, most of my salary will be donated to the charity because I'm a retire, I get my pension, so I do not need other income to live on. I have enough. So that's a one part of me. If I get elected this term or future term, and that's will be. You will have one counselor are working as a volunteer, not for paycheck. So that will be my goal, and if you will elect me, and that will be my promise and to the community.
Thank you very much. Val, we'll just go down the table for ease here. Yeah, 1 minute to wrap up here.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having us all here today, and thank you all for coming out. Like I said, I'm very passionate, and I always joke around and I always say as long as I have to pay taxes, I'm going to run for politics because if you don't do anything and you don't go out there and try to make change, nothing's going to happen, and you're just going to sit there and bitch about it. And I always say to people, did you vote? Because if you don't vote, I don't want to hear about it. I think it's very important to get out and vote. There's a lot of countries around the world that don't get out and do that. And I think being part of council forms how people look at their councils and their democracies and their cities, and everything ties together. And I think it's very important. And I think people need to pay more attention to what's going on in their municipalities. And I will run again. I'll always run.
Thank you very much. John, your final comments.
In March of this year, I did not know if I would be here, and I mean alive. And so this decision to put my name forward is not one that I take lightly. I am here to do everything that I can for the community. And so as part of my decision, the lead up to that, I met with a number of people in the community to find out what they stand for and where they see the community going, including Blair and others in this room. I have had many people, I'm running as an independent, but accuse me of being a shill for Eric and his team. And I want to set the record straight, although I know that there are already going to be people who don't believe me, because when I said that I met with Eric, some have taken that as confirmation that I'm the guy, the hidden one. And so I think that it would have been irresponsible for me to not actually reach out to Eric and his team. And the question I put to him was, are you running somebody in this election? I was told no, and so I'm going forward in good faith. I've met with other people on council. I've met with Eric and his team to say, these are the things I would like to accomplish. If nothing's going to move forward, I would try and will try if I'm elected. But I think that I can work across parties, and that's my commitment. So there you have it. I'm running as an independent, believe it or not. Leave it to you.
Thank you very much. Russia.
Thank you. Let me all ask you a question. If you want to hire somebody, you're not sure about what they're doing, how do they approach things, what do you do? The answer is you hire them on a very limited contract, very limited short, short incentives, etc., etc. This is exactly where we are. Today, I'm coming to you, asking you all to hire me to sit on council for a year. You will have the chance to test it out if this will work or not. The reality is current mayor and council have majority. We like it or not, that is the case. So it's important to bring in new perspective, new ideas, fresh sets of eyes. And let me tell you something, I will ask the hard questions. I will ask them nicely. I'll use my experience and the work that I've done over the past few years. I know I did not do well on my introduction, but hopefully my ending will be better, and you will vote for Rasha Septi for the Township of Langley. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair.
Thanks all for coming tonight. It shows that you care about this community as I do. I care deeply about this community. I've lived here 29 years. Thanks to the Chamber for hosting. This is a special event for us to have and a special opportunity for all 7 of us to be able to speak to you tonight. I am ready to serve this community right away. My 8 years of experience on council, my 29 years as an administrator in a university, my 12 years of coaching regularly in this community, raising my children here, and having my 8 grandchildren live in this area are all things that lead to me being a good listener. Someone that can help to lead in this community, that is willing to work with everybody and anybody to bring the best for Langley. So make sure you get out and vote. These by-elections are important. And make sure you tell your friends to get out and vote so that we can have an awesome community, continue to make Langley the best place there is to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Jamie, and then we'll end with Rob.
Tonight you've heard a lot about growth, housing, transportation, safety, and community. And for me, it all comes down to building a Langley that works for everyone. I bring 27 years of frontline leadership from Costco, where I learned how to solve problems, support people, and lead through challenges with respect and teamwork. I bring the perspective of a mom of 4, a volunteer, and someone who lives with a disability, someone who understands what it means to build communities where people feel seen and supported. I believe in smart growth, protecting farmland and wetlands, safer streets, and more accessible communities, and real collaboration, not just within council, but with our provincial and federal partners, our local businesses, and our farmers who are the backbone of this township. I'm not here to do politics as usual. I'm here to help build a stronger, safer, more connected Langley with the people who live and work here. I'm honored to earn your trust and your vote.
To start with, thank you everyone. It's been a pleasure. Corey, thank you for the forum. Again, last 4 weeks, connecting with the community has been a great experience. The fact that you all are here listening to us for 2 hours shows that you all care, and that's important. I've seen the voting percentages and the rates; they're bad. So please, go out, advocate others to vote. That's very important in the democratic process. When I decided to run for the elections, I looked at the job description. I come from a corporate world, 21 years, and looking at it, I said, yes, I'm ready. I've done that. Probably not at this level, probably not at a city level, but do I bring in the skill set? Yes, I do. So when I say my 3 priorities are collaboration, transparency, and smart and balanced growth, I mean it. I've lived by it. I have the experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates. Please, everyone in the room, join me in a round of applause for all of you for taking the time to be here tonight, for taking the time to put your name on the ballot. So thank you very much. And for those of you in the room and those of you watching this video back, please remember the general voting day is coming up on the 25th. Voting locations are open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we do have 4 days of advanced voting left, which run again 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on October 16th, 18th, 21st, and 22nd in various locations around the township. Thank you all very much for joining us. If you're watching this, thank you for tuning in. And candidates, again, thank you for your time and for being here. Have a great night, everyone. Drive safe.